I love this intro. It always stops and then we're all in the shop. Good evening and welcome to 2025, where this is our first show of Open Mic UK. Myself and the team were all over here waiting to start the show. Actually, we've been on call for an hour. So this is our first of the year of 2025. It's a recap of 24, a few other things that we would like to talk about. So I'll start by introducing the team. Cathy.
Cathy. Cathy's wrapped around with a blanket because it's cold in Vermont. I am a mystic artist. I put on paper with paint images that convey places and ideas that come from the other realms, and I explore liminal creativity with the groups that I work with. It's infinitely exciting to me. And Suzi.
Hello, hello, hello. Well, we're not freezing cold, but we're battening down the hatches over here. We have a 100-mile-an-hour winds forecast in about 6 hours from now. So, catch me while you can. I'm delighted to be here from Ireland and in West Cork. And yes, I'm so happy that we're continuing with Spirit Cafe and with this Open Mic UK, because we had a lot of fun last year. And even in the year that we put in, there was some kind of evolution, I felt, from how we set out and where we've ended up. I'm just passionate about meditation. I'll be your meditation mentor wherever you are, whoever you are, always, at all times, because I really feel like it's the key to getting still and quiet and to be able to receive information from that field. And, I'm an intuitive mentor and medium and Vedic master. My fingers in a few different pies over here. But I'm delighted that we're still in our collaboration and that we have some cool stuff planned for 2025.
Awesome. One quick announcement. The YouTube has changed. So it's now youtube.com/Spirit Cafe CA, which is the Canadian version .ca, but we put it all in one word, Spirit Cafe CA. So this is our new branding kind of thing. So our YouTube is now part of Spirit Cafe rather than, I'm going to put my ears on. Here it is. I forgot to put them on. So that's one thing. Spirit Cafe is still on spiritcafe.ca. We have our calendar will be put up over there soon in early February. We're working on something new. We're moving into the year of the wood snake, my year. So that starts next week. And from there, we basically will launch all our programs after that. So that's what we have in store for now. I know we're branding, we're changing a few things here and there, but most of all, we are still here. We'll be with you for another year, at least. You'll never know how things happen in life. But so let's jump into it. 2024. That was an interesting year. It was an interesting year from the beginning to the end. And if anybody did not have any ups and downs last year, please revisit your memory, because I'm sure we've all went into some type of change. So I'll pass it on. We'll go into a circle. Cathy, what's your thought about 2024?
I watched a lot of people evolve. I think things got so challenging at times for us individually, that people really left behind things that weren't working and had to push out of their comfort zone in order to be okay through it all. our group became really important to me, and I think I felt that tribe feeling with the people who came. We had each other to lean in on, which for me was um, so comforting and life-giving and fun too. So I'm so happy for the people who come to Spirit Cafe with us. Suzi, what did you get out of 2024?
Well, when we set out and this time last year, I really did not have a clue where we were heading with this. It was just kind of falling lightly in our lap, kind of a little bit directionless, trusting the guidance that was coming through. But what was great was when we gave it the space and time and we showed up and we literally sat together, either as the three of us in our team or with our group, with our collective. The information was there and it was flowing, and that for me then was the sort of anchor. It anchored me in committing and showing up then continuously as the months rolled by. And I did see that once we kind of found our groove, we started to relax into it more. We started having a bit more fun, and it started to expand. And I think that was a really interesting kind of experience for me, going into something almost blindfolded, and just to see that happening, that unfolding. And the other part that was really meaningful for me was, you're no longer just isolated doing this on your own, because I do believe that there's a real power in the collective. There's real power in community, and like not being kind of, I suppose, positioning ourselves as experts, but being open and expanding that awareness along with all the others. So watching the medium mystics move through we did 10 sessions over the year, was quite profound. We played in all sorts of fields. We played in remote viewing and psychic mediumship. We did a whole host of different practices, and it wasn't practice. It was very playful, I have to say. But it was fascinating to see kind of the results that we were getting. So I think that's really buoyed my kind of commitment for coming back, but not coming back too tight or too sort of restricted, that we can again maintain that container, that openness, to see where we're going to be led or guided towards anyway this year. So yeah, what would have been one of your key takeaways, Ramzi, from last year? I know you did have a lot of change in your life, but we were there with you for the journey. I think it was a big journey.
Well, 24 was a big journey. Yes, a lot of changes. Actually, it was in the astrology. It was forecasted for me for major changes, and they all took place last year. One of the thing that I would take out of 24 is the connection that we built, and that connection, which includes our group together, had helped in the transition that I had to go through. And of course, I had to go through multiple transitions last year. It was like kind of like a down and down, and a bit of up and a down and down. but overall, the tribe, and I don't like to use that word, but the team, the group that we created, kind of was an anchor for me to keep me grounded and more focused on what I'm doing. And I know we went into Spirit Cafe kind of like blindly. We knew where we were going to go, but Spirit has a funny way of gearing you to do certain things. And I'm so happy with everybody who joined us last year at the Spirit Cafe, and I hope we can continue doing more and more of these things this year, because every session that we had, it was guided. Every session we were I don't want to use guided again, but it was kind of protected and geared towards a certain outcome. And the funny part, at every session we did, someone gained something out of it. At least one person, if it's not the whole group, but one person kind of was able to shed things that they did not need, and they were carrying around a big burden that is not required to carry any further. And that is one thing that I'm very honored and blessed to have experienced it with all of us, the three of us, and also the whole group that joined us at the Spirit Cafe. Cassie, do you think on a personal level, and I know we can't talk about everybody as a group, but on a personal level, because from my end, I saw myself progressing or growing, if you want to call it. But from your end, did you have the same type of feeling, or was it in a different perspective, like different way of doing it? And if any of the sorry, before you continue, if anybody is on a call and they joined us last year, they had some nuggets that came out of it, or just whatever, they want to share something, please, you can post your questions or your comments in the comment section. I will bring them up.
I think last year had a lot of changes for me too. I haven't moved to a different country, but I did travel twice. And for me, that's a really big deal. And it opened my mind. It gave me these gifts of, I didn't know that I could spend hours in the old streets in Europe and find endless inspiration there. I struggled with having the courage to travel at all, and then we all went, and you guys were definitely holding my hand the whole time. But our UK trip was incredible, and I'm still. I go back and look at those pictures. It's really meaningful for me that it expanded sort of the way I see the world. And it's also given me a lot of research that I'm diving into, just the things that I'm curious about, iconography and finding old symbols, the symbols we used before we had language, and how they appear, where they appear. I think that's really fun. I also think that my own practice shifted from being so let's the word medium feels too small now. I feel like I'm becoming more concerned with the big picture, like what we did the other day with the planets, the astrology, big sweeping changes, not just looking at an ancestor here or there. So that's a definite shift in where I want to put my attention now. What about you, Suzi? What did you notice? Any shifts?
Yeah, like the year kind of breaks down into kind of three parts for me. The first kind of quarter, the middle, and then the end. And in the middle, like, I felt we were just floating. It was pretty cool. And towards the end, it was fascinating because I am fascinated by time and the illusion of time travel. And I got to play in that realm with really, a group of people that are so committed, and together we had some incredible results with that. That was big for me. So, like, it would just come just before we went on the session to take the group, 2 weeks, we traveled to a point in time 2 weeks into the future. But then we were able to get really good feedback when we met up at the end of the year, because obviously we had traveled to that location, we were there at that date, and we had the recordings of what everybody had connected with 2 weeks in advance. And that was really interesting for me. It was enough of a massive nugget for me to to say, okay, I definitely want to come back and do some more and play some more with that, because I believe that, like you said, Cathy, mediumship just doesn't quite cut it as a word, as a practice on its own, because it's much more than that. This whole year for me with the medium mystics has been about redefining that, and being able to kind of expand it in terms of, what happens when we expand our awareness, when we experience kind of higher states of consciousness. And a lot of that stuff that I've been studying in my own time and writing was really sparked when we went to the Science and Consciousness conference in the UK. And while some of that goes right over my head on an intellectual level, on an energetic level, it's a really cool place to hang out and play. So again, it always kind of sparks, I don't know, it's like planting seeds for me, for what's coming around the corner, So yeah, they were some really cool kind of experiences that I had. I definitely took it a lot easier towards the end of last year. I had an injury, so I was kind of observing my body's healing capacity and just how I was, able to adjust to it. But I had some very meaningful kind of in encounters with people, and that's what I love. That's what I appreciate. People who are really, on their journey or on their path, and we don't all have to be at the same place, but we can kind of meet and have that coffee in the middle and just shoot the breeze, and that can be lovely. Like, so yeah, I really enjoyed that last session last year when we kind of unpicked the time travel, and we had the lady who owns the property that we traveled to on the call, who could really validate detail that I certainly didn't even notice while I was there, so that got me excited. So hopefully we'll do some more of that. That's where I want to go this year. I want to do more like blind vision and, time travel. And I've been studying it from different traditions, and being inspired to kind of create, afternoon sessions that will kind of facilitate that, I hope, anyway. So, yeah, I think the community was a really big part of it, creating the circle. Like the other day, a lot of the people in the community are on a WhatsApp group, and I was getting like little kind of pieces of information coming, over a couple of days. And as it was filtering through, I had a really strong kind of urge to reach out and just see, was anybody else picking up on it? And we had that very impromptu circle a couple of days ago. And it was cool that we all got, like, we didn't plan it apart from like about an hour before. And how many people were able to show up for that. So that was really interesting. And I'd love if we could talk here a little bit about what came through, because I think there were overlays of what we each picked up on, and how, each of our journeys we're informing each other's, So what was your key takeaway of that circle, Ramzi?
First of all, I connected late.
Yeah.
But I connected at the right time, even if I was late. And I know I spoke to others who missed it, but I guess we're supposed to be when where we're supposed to be at that time. The stuff that I saw, which we'll talk about each one of us, what we saw and how it all how it all fits into the same narrative almost. One of the things that I saw is that have no fear. Basically, jump into the water with no fear. Align with your tribe. Be responsible for yourself. Ground yourself. Be one with yourself. Basically, center yourself, and that's where meditation comes in, and that helps us a lot with everything that we've done last year. Sorry, I'm reading them because I forgot everything, but I just want to make sure that I capture all of them. There is a tunnel if you wish to see one. basically we're not going into a tunnel. There's nothing to be worried about. You are where you are. It's all an illusion. And we're going into a new beginning. So 2025 is a new beginning. Although it's a year 9 in numerology, it's the end, but it's also the platform for the beginning, which is 2026, the first year of which is the year of number 1. So it is a platform for next year, which is awesome. So I believe what we do this year will help us on our journey for the next 10 years that are coming up. So this year is kind of crucial in setting up the platform or the base for where we're heading. And I know we're all going, and based on what we did, is that we're all in the same kind of type of boat. And 24 was kind of like it geared us to where we're supposed to go. And this year we're kind of solidifying it and weeding out certain things that are not required anymore, and rebranding. And that's why we're doing with the Spirit Cafe. And actually, on a personal level, we're also rebranding. So I removed, for example, the mediumship from my title. I'm not a medium anymore as of this year, 2025. My new thing is Holistic Alchemist. And we'll talk about that in a bit, because this one came from a different vision, and we'll get to that. So let's continue with the circle that we did now. I'm overly excited with the things that we've done and where it's going to lead us. Cathy?
I love your new title, because the alchemy is such an exciting word. So when we met, it was on the day that the 6 planets were aligning with each other. I forget how long it's been since they've done that, like thousands of years. And then the 7th planet is going to join them at the end of February. So it is a really auspicious time, like Suzi said that morning. For me, when we all, Suzi brought us into a meditation, and we got quiet, and we all kind of saw what we saw individually, and then we spoke in the last part of our gathering what we saw, so that the other ones would be aware. For me, it was about all of us stepping into our own sovereignty. What do I own? What do I do? What do I have to offer? How can I be of service? And then appearing in line, and the way I saw it was we were with those planets. I saw us in a circle around the earth, us individually as people, with those planets, because the more I listen to astrology news, I feel like those planets are allies in the energies that we're experiencing now, in our culture and on the planet, in our culture as a whole. So I've never seen that before, standing next to Jupiter, and between there's Venus over there, so beautiful. But that's what it was to me. And so then, translate that into, I went outside, and I stood on my land and looked up, and I could see 4 of the planets, because it was a really cold, crisp night. So as above, so below. And that was the message that that Suzi, let's shift over to Suzi now, because that was what you were talking about on Monday.
Yeah, I just loved how the different people came together as it was supposed to be. And even still, people who couldn't make it live, because as we said, it was so impromptu, I think it was enough of a container, and it was like a nudge for all of us to just pay attention that day, whether we were together or not. and just to feel into what happens within our own system when those 6 planets all align. And it's a rare event. And what I was picking up on is that it's like an intuitive boost. It's almost like I don't know what the word is, like everything is just more amplified, I would say. It's an amplification of, what you're normally getting. And so it's organizing itself. And what came to me was as above, so below. And I kept seeing this kind of mirror images. I saw this axis, and I saw like in multiple formats, because a couple of days before I felt really guided to go to this, not a stone circle in Ireland, but it was a line of standing stones. And they're aligned east-west, and it was really drawn to them. And they came into my awareness on the 21st of December, which was the winter solstice. And I was going through a whole ritual locally with a group of people that day, using all the elements and everything. And I became very aware of this. And it never left my kind of, when something is just always there waiting for you to show up and go and see it. And eventually I got there on Sunday. It just happened, because it's not too far from me, but it was interesting because I'm so used to going to standing circles, stone circles. And this one was like, the tall stone was about, I think it's about 16 feet high. And, and then they get kind of sequentially smaller as they go along. But what I was very aware of was the space between each one. There was the same amount of space between them. And so when the lining up of the planets came, that really kind of, as I said, it was more amplified. And again, there was something in me. There was this kind of need to really sit down and tune in that day. And that's what I got. It was like there was an access, as in AXIS, to access, ACCESS. And so it just felt like I've been working with the concept of Kala Vankana, this Kala chakra, which is this Kala being time and chakra being wheel of time, or Vankana being the deception of time, and just kind of trying to break free of any kind of confines that my mind could be kind of locked down on. And I felt like that amplification on that day helped me kind of release some of the where I'm confining myself or getting caught up in, old memories of timelines or time frames, And so this access, this point of access, which kind of seemed to me came off this line, the line was like a sacred landscape. That's what it felt like. I connected with, and so it was about being super grounded, really grounded right here, right now, to be able to access through this axis, if that makes sense. So it was this constant, it just was repeating itself over. So when that happens for me, I do pay attention. And the east-west was something that was really kind of catching my attention as well. And this other word that came through when we were at the conference was assertive consciousness. And I've been playing with that, throwing it around, in my mind. What's assertive consciousness? And I started to see it express. I invited it in. I said, okay, let's play. And I noticed in a few interactions with people where before I would have been maybe a bit people pleasery or just, not really speaking up, not wanting to offend somebody or, kind of biting my lip or whatever. I found myself being really clear and speaking my truth, not with trying to make another person wrong, but really just being able to kind of stay in a neutral and express myself. So that's been a very interesting kind of, I suppose, a little evolution within my own personal kind of story and this kind of assertive consciousness. But I could feel it linked into that picture that we were connecting with. And there was some so beautiful, like some of the other words that came together was, I think somebody talked about standing tall in your power. And I had something that I saw this group, then the surrounding of when a group of people come together in circle or in community, that it creates this coherence in all of the systems. We have the mirror neuron effect, and so standing together empowered. So we're empowered as opposed to like overpower or something like that. So it feels like that's a sort of a theme that I'm entering into personally, but maybe we're doing that collectively as well. And I loved like when Ramzi came out with like, you know, just dive in without fear, you know, that really resonated. Aligning with the tribe, new beginnings. You know, I know, Cathy, you talked a bit about the new earth. I think it was saying that we're moving from earth and water to air and fire. And like with these messages, it's not like an email with a memo that makes complete sense. It's just little pieces that come in, and you welcome them all in, and you just let them sit with you for the next couple of days or weeks, or you write with them. And on some level, it's informing, I think, the subconscious mind. So I really enjoyed that we were able to do that impromptu, and hopefully we'll do more of those. Hopefully we'll also give a little bit more notice so more people can join in too. But it was just good to see how it wanted to form, like the formula was good for me. I enjoyed it. And I think on the 28th of February, there'll be a 7th planet added. So I think we had Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, Venus, Saturn, and then is it Pluto? I'm not sure. There's another one joining in February, the 28th. So maybe we might set something up for that, and it could be a lot of fun, because combined with that tuning in as a collective, getting our own individual sort of little map or blueprint for the next couple of weeks or months can really help us out, like, so we can relax our nervous system a bit more and just flow with this evolving, you know, consciousness.
Yeah, the 28th actually is the last Friday of February. So yeah, that will be awesome. I'd love to connect again with everyone. Hopefully we can get a bigger circle this time. Because the stronger the energy within the field, the better the information, or more information will be passed through. That's how I see it. And one of the things also that transpired from the Spirit Cafe of last year was the connection with everyone that was there, with the whole group. But that connection is on an energetic level.
Mm.
We're able to stand with others when we know when we feel they're down. Like we could feel that. I'll just use an example with the three of us. Like when Suzi, you had an injury, and I felt you were injured, so I said, "Oh, okay, you know, hope all is well. Let's connect, and then we'll figure out what is happening." So we were all kind of connected on an energetic level, whereby we were able to support each other, even without having to connect with a phone, with a Zoom, with anything. We were there energetically to support everyone. And that's something that is beyond valuable. There's something that we can't actually put it on a piece of paper. We can't even write it on our website, but it's there. It's those things that actually what drives me to continue doing this type of work.
And we see how it helps other people. We had another gathering this week with Allison Knox and the Graceful Warriors, which I was exposed to several years ago in another group. Allison painted a painting of a gathering of angels. How many angels are in that? 30, I don't know. And so in my mind, that's me walking into that gathering and turning around and standing with, and Suzi's in the group, and Ramzi's in the group, and Harry Potter joined the group. And Allison's in the group, and Allison's dog's in the group, and that's really reassuring for me in those times where, it's the dark of winter. We all have those moments where you can't sleep, and am I alone? Yeah, but in my imaginal realm, I'm never alone. I've got my playmates here.
Yeah, that was a very moving experience when it was the 10-year anniversary of her channeling the words of the graceful warriors, and that those words and those paintings have really inspired me on multiple occasions at multiple events that I was at in the UK. They almost kind of became my little backbone when I was totally like, oh Lordy gee, what's going on, or what am I doing here, or what's coming next, because it's sort of living in this kind of spontaneity. You're living in this slightly different way of being, like showing up, because you have to be there, but not always sure of what your role is or what it's about, and often getting information kind of as you're there, and then in hindsight it starts to come together. So yeah, those graceful warriors, it felt very fitting now that we know that this is a year 9 in the numerology, because, and that being their tenure, it's like they came along to kind of give the heads up for the 9 years that followed. And honestly, they really they were like the invisible team that were supporting just by their words. And I think what happens is the resonance that people come into when they see the painting, or they connect with the words that she channeled, and it just kind of brings everybody into this harmonious state of humanity. Like we're just all humans rising here and on a journey. And yeah, I really noticed that last year when you'd pick up when one of you were needing, like might go, they might just disappear out of the field for a little bit or something. Or I would get a message for, like, I know when Ramzi was traveling, I got a message from him and I was like, oh, he's on his holidays, I'm not going to bother him now. But just having the confidence and the courage to drop in the note, because it's not like you're looking for anything in return here. It's just like you're contributing to a field of information, and if it's going to be of any benefit and they pick it up, well and good. And if it gets dropped or it doesn't get seen, that's okay too. You're not you're not looking for validation all the time. And I think that's where working with the mediumistic community has really given us a lot more courage individually and as a collective, and to just share the message, because in the community gatherings that we had, we did this stuff. We had one event, I remember, where we asked everybody to have a location in their home, like in their garden or their yard or whatever. And then somebody else was paired up and had to go visit and really remote view the space and connect with it. And that was phenomenal. Like when I remember we all came back in, the amount of hits in that, like the average for remote viewing is about 65%, but we were really hitting the 65% with. And the thing with some of these practices is you can't kind of hone your skills or your practice, because it doesn't work if you try. It doesn't work if you're, oh my God, laboring and studying and trying to put effort in, because they're the wrong conditions. The conditions that where this works is being at ease in yourself, being centered in yourself, being creative, being okay with being totally wrong, because you will, of course, be wrong. You'll be wrong many, many times, and you won't have picked it up. You may have kind of got the wrong end of the stick or something like that. And it's not about results. I think that's a really key thing that we really kind of drove home last year. It's not result oriented. Like it's a bit like teaching meditation. You have to really try and teach it in such a way that certain mindsets aren't trying too hard, because you just get a massive headache when you try to meditate, because meditation isn't a doing, it's a state of being and cultivating something within yourself there where you can kind of get quiet and still and, receptive. And I think it has to be, that's why it has to be quite playful when we do these, viewings or psychic readings or whatever we were doing. It was like, you just have to, as I say, spit out whatever is coming to you, no matter how obscure or ridiculous it might sound. And then it's not for you to decide. It's the receptivity really of the receiver of the information. So, yeah. What would you say about that, Ramzi? About kind of being in the receiver and the sort of,
As humans, we want to be right. Okay, we
yeah.
we never want to be wrong, and that's one of the things that prohibits us from actually doing the work, because we kind of feel responsible for a message that we give out. But the reality is, it's not our message. We have nothing to do with it. And of course, it took us time. It took me time, a couple of years before I was able to overcome that fear of being wrong. But I feel that the work that we've done and the year that we contributed in other people's life last year had helped me overcome that part, because that became a healing technique rather than a forecasting thing. I'm not passing messages from the other side, from spirit to someone. I'm bringing a healing words to someone that needs to hear it and sit with it and release whatever that they're holding on to. And I say that out of experience. When my grandmother showed up, I was in London, and she was like, "Oh, you don't come and visit me." And I think I've said that on the show a couple of times, but she did show up to me, and I was able to see her a couple of times for me to go visit her resting place. And when I ended up going there, and of course there's a lot of emotional stuff that flows when you go to see a loved one. She came back. She came that day, and the message that she gave me was, "What do you think I brought you here for? To see me?" And it was with that attitude that she had while she was alive. And the message is that you're here to release the pain that you're holding, and that's it. And there was nothing to it. Like, that kind of like slapped me on the head. It's like, wake up, wake up. It's not for me to decide if the message is true or not, or if it's real or not, or whatever it is. It's for me to just be the conduit for that message, and the receiver will use it to heal himself or herself based on the needs that they have for that point in time. And one thing I have to, I know I hog this part, but sometimes the message does not resonate at the point that it was set, and it might mean nothing at that point. But with time, the receiver forgets where this message came from. And when the right time comes, it helped them re-anchor themselves or release the tension that they're holding, or whatever it is that they needed. It will come eventually. So let's not judge the message that comes through, or judge ourselves, or how we're being perceived in a certain situation. We should just flow with it.
Well, like
Flow with
Suzi
it.
says, just be the delivery person.
Spit it out. Yeah. I think that's where you have to really break free of your conditioning, because your part of your mind is conditioned to try to give something that's coherent and helpful, and you might want to try and say something, but that's not what you're getting. And so you have to really separate that part of your identity, like that, that wants to appear coherent and kind and intelligent of some or something like that, and let that all go. And just sometimes the messages can seem like gobbledygook, when it could be random numbers or a really strange kind of sensation or something that you're receiving. You're like, wow, what am I supposed to do with this? And what I've learned is get over yourself, spit it out. It's not up to you how it lands. If you're picking it up and you can tell, like, how can you tell that this is a message for somebody? If you're in a group of people, I'd love to hear what you both have to say about this. And information comes to you, like, A, how do you know it's not for yourself? And B, how do you kind of interact with that, kind of delivering that message, not in a formal, sitter scenario, like.
Well, for me, I recently I got a message for someone, and I resisted of passing it, because who am I to tell them what to do? But then it's not what to do, but who am I to pass on this message? And then I sat with it, and then in a second conversation, I said, and by the way, there was silence on the other end, but that's okay. It wasn't that the message was wrong, or the message is not right, or it's not for the right person, whatever it is. The message had to be out. Get over my hump and pass it on. And there's no judgment. Even if the person does not like it, or feels it's inappropriate, just let it go. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just let it go, because eventually it is the right message for them, and they'll use it whenever they need it. That's all. I really got like last year was a very profound year for me, to be able to let go of the reaction of the person that I'm talking to. Like, I'm passing on a message, and it's like, oh, and their face changes, and oh my God, I shouldn't have said that. And then I lose the messages that were coming through, because I'm too busy judging how I'm being judged by the other person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned a lot last year. Ramzi, you pushed me a couple of times. So there are the messages that come through for random people, maybe it's family, maybe it's local people, or somebody in the grocery store that's a stranger. And then there are messages that come through with people who I'm doing the art readings or the tarot with. And so those people are coming for a message. And I gave up on worrying about what strangers think, because when I worry about that, then it stops. I close myself off, and then I can't get messages anymore about anything. So I learned my lesson there. And then the people who come to me for that, I was having a hard time being honest, because I didn't want to deliver the more challenging message. And Ramzi called me out, because he was in a situation, we were all together, and he's watched me do it. and I knew I was doing it, but being seen doing it was okay. I have to be done with that now. And what I found is that because people do come for that, I end up checking in later on, and I think even bigger results happen when sometimes it's more challenging, and it doesn't feel so. It's not mine to judge. Like, I don't even know what the message means to them, right? So I feel like I did mostly get beyond that. I'm really thankful for the two of you for keeping me honest.
Yeah, I think it depends on there's a few things, like the environment that you're in, how well you know a person, or don't know them at all, and whether it's conducive to kind of to get into something like that. And I really am appreciative if somebody has a message for me. I'm all ears. I am paying attention when somebody drops in, and I know, okay, this is for me. May not be what I want to hear, may not be kind of what I was expecting, but at the same time, it's all about how we interpretation and perception, I guess. And sometimes these messages are sent to kind of shift our perception, where we're conditioning ourselves or limiting or whatever. But yeah, I've been in scenarios, because obviously I do a lot of live meditations, been doing a lot of teaching online, with groups, and somebody's speaking and I'm getting like a really strong impression for them. So I usually just make a little note. I try not to interrupt the flow of what's going on, but then I will sit back down and reconnect and go, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? And if it's still there, and it's very subtle, it's a very subtle field of energy, and it's an information packet, and it's not like, doesn't usually have an emotional charge when I get it for somebody else. It's just like a little information packet is how I perceive it. And then, I might just email or text, or if I'm with the person, say, hey, I picked up on something there. Let me know if you want to hear it. I'm willing to give you the time to do that. And I'll be honest, like 9.5 out of 10, they want to know. Always. I don't think I've ever had somebody tell me. I've had one or two people who, when I'm telling them, their face looks really puzzled, but I just have to not get involved in that, like, because I'm not the one who's conjured up this message. It's a package I'm dropping off. It's information, and it can either inform you or not. Like, and I think we can build up our receptivity. I think I've had to really, when we were training to do the mediumship, I had a lot of resistance to it myself. So that training over 2 years, I could see how I learned how to become a sitter, how to become receptive. And that's really helped me grow a lot, I think. And then being able to trust and deliver whatever's coming,
Trust is important, and if you recall, when we were doing the retreat, we were all we weren't like trusting per se. How are we going to sell those 15 seats, and people are going to fly to the UK and but that's what we do. That's what the human nature gives us, is excuses and whining, so that we don't. So we're protected. Let's put it this way. So we are protected. We're not exposed to ridicule or failure or anything like that. So we kind of protect ourselves, and we give ourselves excuses not to move forward. But then Spirit pushes someone to pass on that message to you, and that message moves you forward and shatters whatever excuses or things that you built up on yourself. Like for myself, I was trying to build something, and then I put it aside, and I go, oh no, it's not right time for it, let me do this first. And then 2 months later, a friend asked me, so where's the progress on this thing? I go, oh my God. And it just blabbed out. I'm afraid of the success of it. So I put it aside, and I started doing nothing, and creating this nothingness was very important for me, rather than to focus on that thing. So yes, we have to just listen to Spirit And Spirit sends us the messages from everywhere, from friends, from family, and even to us. And we should trust ourselves. Like this year, 2025, anchoring ourselves and being centered is very important. It's very important for the next 10 years that we're going to be walking into. And I think these are the messages that we got from everybody during the circle that we did. And also, these are lessons that we learned from 2024 through Spirit Cafe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I remember distinctly when that information package arrived in with the location for where we were going to meet in the UK. It was, I don't know, August or something. And I was just like, I sent it straight back, like return to sender, because I had my own reasons for that. They seemed logical to me at the time. And I was just like, out you go. But the truth was, it just kept coming back. And then eventually I was like, oh, God, okay. Just sit down now and pay attention. And then, you clarified a lot of that. You had an image, you had a picture. I was like, oh, right, okay. And, I think Cathy was the one who said, well, send them a text to see if it's available. I was like, no. And they were like, yes. And I was like, oh, God. But like, that was phenomenal because like a minute later, it was booked, it was in. And then like everything was just waiting. Everything was like lined up, waiting to unravel. And I, in my stuckness, was kind of holding back the dam, like with my bare hands. So, and that takes a lot of energy when you're trying to hold back the dam. It's a lot of energy. And you can feel it, but it's part of our growth as well. We have to experience that kind of like I experienced massive resistance at times. But I know now that even where I feel that level of resistance, there's something coming that, when I manage to move myself out of the way. So that's another sign. I think that's something that we hopefully will have more to experience in the next couple of months together, that how do you feel your resistance, or where is your comfort zone? What does it feel like when you go beyond your comfort zone,
Yeah, this is it's amazing how things happen. And with your story, it literally took 30 seconds and everything was booked.
Yeah.
Literally 30 seconds. It's just amazing. And the stress that we put on ourselves, and that's why I'm saying is that when we get a message from Spirit for someone, we should let it go. Just pass it on, because you'll never know what the other person is going through or how it's gonna impact their lives. We don't know, and we shouldn't even be thinking about it. It's just pass it on, and then it will do whatever it needs to do. My God, again, I love our conversation. It takes us like nothing for an hour to pass. But we do have something also new to talk about, is the kitchen table talk. Cathy, if you can just let us know what is this going to be about, what topics are you going to bring out, when should we, and I think it's all going to happen in February, but just whatever you have on this new segment of the Spirit Cafe that's coming up in 2025.
The idea is that we will have short conversations about whatever is interesting to us at the time. They're not going to be for an hour. I don't know if we'll put them out on a schedule or maybe just as they come through. I'm working on a little opening animation and, still devising the plan. But so Suzi had an exciting conversation with one of the people from the conference. And so the idea is we have a short little conversation about that. What did you learn? Oh my gosh, share it with me. And then out it goes so that everybody else can be part of those conversations also. It's not a huge investment in time. It's just little nuggets that will hopefully give people something that they can look into further. Maybe we want to look into it further. Exciting tiny little talks.
Yeah, it could be something you read in a book even, because, you know, when you're in a book and suddenly this like aha comes in, it could be one of those little chats, and
Right.
pre-recorded, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
So that you don't miss anything, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. More to come, and we're welcoming 2025 with something awesome. Everything is coming into play, which is great. Thank you all for being with us this hour. It was an awesome chatting with both of you. And Suzi, be careful this evening. I think you said that there's a massive. We'll catch up in the morning, make sure that everything is okay, which I feel is going to be okay. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time. Have an awesome day, evening, and we'll catch up in 2 weeks. Have a great day.
Brilliant.
Take care.
Thanks a million.
Thank you.